everyone and welcome to this fly tying video. Today we're going to tie a CdC shrimp, and here in the vise I have a new hook. I've had the possibility to try out new Ahrex hooks, and this one is the Ahrex NS 156, and this is called the traditional shrimp. This one is a size 8, has this nice curve to it. Also I really like this black nickel finish, and I haven't tested them all yet, but they seem really nice. So I'll quickly go through all the materials, and for this one there are quite a lot. I go through it quite rapidly. So the first is these easy shrimp eyes, and they really make life easier when you tie shrimps. They're just perfectly shaped eyes and also set on this little plastic thing, so really easy to tie in. They will always be the right length, or the bows will be the same length, and these ones are in a color called Fluo orange, so makes the fly really pop. Then, as it's called the CdC shrimp, we're going to use some CdC, and here I have two different colors. This one is in the color red fluo, and the other one is pink, and I'm going to mix these two to get a nice blend. You could also just use one or the other. And for the back of the fly and also this little mouth part or over part, I'm going to use some lacy dub, and here I'm also going to use two colors. First one is shrimp pink and the other one is pale pink, and I'm going to mix these two as well. For a little hot spot right behind the mouth, I'm going to use some ice dub in UV Fluo hot pink, and this is really nice, really vibrant color, going to make this a little bit longer, and also it's a nice hot spot here at the back. And for the mouth I'm going to use some Mallard flank. This one is in the color natural, you could also use some dyed ones. And then I'm also going to use a little bit of lead-free wire to keel the fly and to get it to ride the right way. I'm also going to use a little bit of UV resin on the top, not a whole lot, but just makes the fly look a whole lot better. So now we'll start, and the thread, I'm really pleased to announce that we are now in the shop carrying sample fly materials, so I can finally tie with my preferred tying thread, and this one is the Nano silk in white, 50 denier. And I really have to say that this thread is just the best I've ever tied with. So we'll start putting down a little bit of thread, and here I'm going to tie in the first material, and this is this lead-free wire. Make sure to get lead-free. And here I'm going to fold this up so it goes a little bit faster. There we go, and then put this on the underside of your fly and tie this in. Make sure it stays quite on the bottom. A few turns back and forth to really bind this down, and try to keep it as much on the underside as possible. And if it wants to turn on you a little bit, just push it back. And then the excess I'm going to cut, but don't use your best scissors or you'll break them in no time. So here, just an old pair and a few more turns. And here it can be a little bit difficult or a little bit dangerous to pass over these cut ends, so just make sure you go a little bit looser right here and then bind down when you go back. And here I'm going to go and park my thread about above the barb of the hook, and here I'm going to tie in the first material, and here I've chosen a nice Mallard flank feather. This one is natural, it will just blend in with the other colors. And what I do is I strip off all the fluff from the bottom, and then I'm going to take just a few fibers from the side. And I'm going to roll these a little bit and then just tie these in. And here you can choose the length you want on these. You can have them a little bit shorter, a little bit longer. I'm going to tie them in about so, about half the length of the shank, I would say. You can really choose how long you want these, it's your fly. If you want them a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, that's all up to you. Then I'm going to tie these down the whole way. You can also cut these away. Then I'm going to take a single CdC feather, and this one we're going to tie in as part of this mouth part. I don't really know the anatomy of the shrimp, but usually have like these fibers or things sticking out, and here I'm going to tie this in. You can tie this in in a few different ways. Here I'm just going to tie it in by the tip as a soft tackle, and here just tie these ends down. I'm going to park my thread a little bit forward, and then folding these back, I'm going to wrap this forward. Few turns, about 4, maybe 5, and then I'm going to tie this down. 4, then cut off the stem, and then I'm going to fold back all these fibers and go back with my thread over the stem and the CdC and tie this down right to the mallard flank, and this is going to make this little halo or this little veil around the mallard flank, and just looks quite nice. Then I'm going to take a little bit of this eye stub in the color UV Fluo Hot Pink, the longest name for pink color, and I'm just going to take a little bit of this, and this is going to make, I'm going to make a small dubbing ball, and this is going to support the eyes and also make a nice little hotspot here at the back. And here you can really mix all the colors that you want. You can also tie this in a more natural or in a little more natural colorway, like with some tans and just a little bit of pink. But I think this fluo shrimp, this fluo pink shrimp really works, and it did work. Then I'm going to take these fluo orange shrimp eyes, these easy shrimp eyes. You could also use the pink ones. I just don't have these, so I'm going to go with the orange ones. Work really well. It will have this nice effect on the fly. And here I'm just going to tie these in from about the point to the back of the hook. And here you can see that this is really easy. This little plastic part here has one a little bit rough side and one smooth, so get the rough side towards or up, and then you can tie this down really well, and with the nano silk you can put a lot of pressure and really bind this down. And then I'm going to come in and cut off this to length, and here the eyes, I'm just going to figure eight a little bit to get these to stay perfectly in place. I don't want these to be too close to the body. I want these splaying out a little bit like this, and then up again. Make sure to put quite a bit of pressure so this doesn't fold or turn around on the hook. And if you would like to, you could also add a little bit of super glue at this stage, or at any stage when you tie in these quite slippery materials, so you don't get a fly that will turn around on the hook. And then back up again, or back down to the ice. And here we will start to tie the whole body of the fly. Here the first material I'm going to tie in is just a nylon thread, and this is a 0.015. You just need something to do the rib with. You could also use a little bit of ultra wire or any other material that you like. Then what I'm going to do is to go up the whole length of the body, and I'm just going to stop a few millimeters before the eye. And here I'm going to do, or build up the body, and this I'm going to mix some of this Xenios laser dub in the pale pink and also in the shrimp pink. And here you could also use other types of dubbing, but as I'm going to use this later on as well, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to do a finger mix. And also here I'm really pulling this apart. These fibers are quite long, so I want these to be a little bit shorter for the dubbing. So what I'm going to do as well is to cut these in two, and then they're not easier to dub, but it's a little bit easier to then brush out these fibers, and it will make a little bit of a nice fly. And here I have this mix. Just put the nylon thread away, and then I'm going to start this, or put down a little bit of dubbing onto the thread. And here you have to remember that this is tied, or a shrimp is always tied from the head of the shrimp to the tail going this way. So we want here near the eye to be quite slim and here a little bit thicker. So you just have to think a little bit in reverse when you tie this. So I'm going to start here going with the taper from the front of the hook towards the back. Usually it's the other way around. So I'm just going to build this body up. I'm building the shape of the shrimp. I'm quite happy with how this turned out. Then what I'm going to do is to take some CdC, and here I'm going to do this mix of the two colors, the red Fluo and the pink. Just going to prep 2 feathers, putting all the fibers 90 degrees from the stem with the first one, and also with the second color. Then I'm going to take the biggest dubbing table that comes with the magic tool, the standard magic tool set. And what I'm going to do is to take these 2 CdC feathers and stack them the same way. So now they're just one over the other. I'm going to push them through the magic tool, and this way you get all the fibers aligned. Cut off the ends, and then you take this clip and gather all these fibers in the clip. And then I'm going to cut off the stems and try to cut them as close as possible, so you get the least amount of waste possible. And here you could use a dubbing loop, or what I'm going to do is just split the thread in 2. So what I'll do is spin the thread counterclockwise, Just going to uncord the thread and make it really flat. And then you can come in with your dubbing needle and just split it in two. And this really works well with the nano silk. It's so slick and yes, just perfect for splitting in two. Then I'm going to take this, and as you can see, maybe we have some short fibers here up at the top and a little bit longer at the bottom. So I'm going to reverse this and get the longest fibers near the top and the shorter ones near the bottom. And this is just to continue the shape that we have going on. And then you insert them between the two threads. And then I'll just start spinning these a little bit between my fingers to get it started. Then take your bobbin and spin it clockwise, and this is going to cord up the thread and make this stay here really nicely. And then once you feel you have enough turns, just bring all the turns up, bring your bobbin up, and then I'm just going to start here at the back, and then with open turns I'm going to go up through this body and make sure you get right up to the eye. And there we have this really fluffy or spiky or CdC body. Then just a few turns here up at the top. Then what I like to do is to spin back the thread so it's a little bit flatter. When it's flat, it's a little bit more durable. So I just like to spin this back. Then I'm going to take my dubbing brush and I'm going to brush all these CdC fibers down on the sides, so I don't have any sticking up towards the top. And at the same time this is going to brush out a little bit of this dubbing we have underneath. So there we go. And now it's time to do a laser dub mix again. So I'm just going to mix these two, and this time I'm not tearing these apart, I'm just going to mix these and card them. And this is just pulling these fibers apart the same direction and then putting them together. And this is going to make all the fibers align, or most of the fibers align. And then you get the maximum length out of these fibers. And here I have quite a few. I'm going to split these in two. And then here what I'm going to do is to take this and tie it in about with 60% towards the back and 40% towards the front. And this is going to make this stick out just a little bit past this mouth part. And also this towards the front we're then going to fold back. And this is then going to bleed in nicely with the other one, or the back part, and just going to make this really nice taper towards the back. So a few turns, then come up with your thread just behind the eye. And now I'm going to take this nylon thread and start to make segments, and at the same time this is going to secure this laser dub. And here I'm just going to make open turns with this nylon thread, and make sure you get, or try to not trap down too many of the CdC fibers. We're pretty much done. Just one more, and then I'm going to tie this off. And here you want to put quite a lot of pressure onto this and make quite a few turns as well. Both the nanosilk and the nylon thread are quite slippery, so if you can put a few of these heavy turns down, it's really nice. And then just cut this one away. And now we've trapped a few of these CdC fibers, but we're just going to brush these out again. And the last thing to do, or the last thing with the thread, is to whip finish. 4 turns, pull tight, cut off your thread. And now I'm going to come in with my dubbing brush and brush these fibers, or these trapped fibers, out. And here it can be quite rough on the underside. You really want to pull as much of these CdC fibers and the dubbing out. This is going to make a really lively fly and also get this nice profile. Then I'm going to take some diamond fine flex, and here you don't need much at all. I just want to darken this back a little bit and also make this tail, or it's not a tail but this shell, just stand out a little bit higher like this. So then it's going to really have a nice profile. And there I just put down a few drops, and I'm going to take a dubbing needle and just push this around a little bit. But you don't want to make a whole coat of UV resin at the back. Just want this to be, or soak in to the laser dub. Make sure you get some out on the turns of thread, and as well a little bit here on this back part of the shell. Then I'm going to take the UV lamp and I'm going to hold this one just a little bit up and then zap it with light. This only takes a few seconds. There we go, and now we have this really hard back here, so this is not going to go anywhere, and also this part is now standing up a little bit and gives this nice profile to the fly. So when you strip it, it's going to go down a little bit and then go back to its original position once you stop. And the same with all these CdC legs right here. And here at the back we also have this nice shrimpy profile with nice eyes, the mouth part, and a little hot spot here right at the back. So there we have the CdC shrimp. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time, and happy tying!